Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Elisa here with Thoughtful Creativity, and today we're going to take a look at how to assemble basic pants. Now we did draft these pants a couple of episodes ago, so if you want to see the drafting video, the link will be in the info box below. But today we're going to take a look at how to cut and how to put these together. Now the same basic principle is going to apply to majority of the pants out there. However, it will always depend on how many pattern pieces do you have and how many details do you have in your pants. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now first of all, go ahead and grab your fabric. Now take the selvage in and fold it in like so, like you see me do on a screen. Now usually I opt for pressing my fabric really well before I do this step, so that way it eliminates any wrinkles or puckers. But this time it looks a little wrinkly, but it actually lays really flat, so I skipped that step. Now go ahead and make sure that your selvage end is parallel to your folded edge. After that, grab your pattern. On the pattern, you're going to see the grain line. You want to make sure that this grain line is parallel to both selvage end and folded end of your fabric. Place your pattern. Once you have achieved that, go ahead and pin your pattern to the fabric. You can use fabric weights or whatever is more convenient for you. Now, I usually don't do this step often, but this time, just to make sure that you see it, I'm using a heat erasable pen and I'm going to outline my pattern. Once you're done, go ahead and cut your fabric. Now I draft my patterns without seam allowances, therefore as you see, I'm cutting mine 1/4 inch larger to account for it. You're going to repeat the same steps for the front pattern piece and for the back pattern piece as well. Now here you see the front pattern piece and the back pattern piece. The front pattern piece already has a pocket assembled, and if you want to see the full tutorial for the pocket, the link will be in the info box below. As I mentioned, you're going to have 2 details for the front and 2 for the back. Both details are going to be facing in the opposite directions. Now what we want to do is go ahead and take your front pattern piece and lay it right sides together with the back pattern piece like so. You want to make sure that you match it at the side seams, and you want to make sure that they face at the crotch seams as well. The first seam that we're going to assemble is going to be this side seam. Now go ahead and make sure that everything is aligned really nice and neat, and then pin it in place. If you are making a pocket, make sure that all details of the pocket align and nothing escapes from this, so to speak, sandwich between the pocket and 2 of the side seam details. Once everything is pinned together, make your way to the serger or a sewing machine, depending on which fabric you're using, and go ahead and stitch that seam. Don't forget to finish the raw edges of the fabric, depending on which fabric you're using. And now let's go ahead and complete the inner leg seam. You're going to do exactly the same thing, right sides facing together. You're going to align the inner leg seam, and then you're going to pin it together. And you're going to make your way either to the sewing machine or a serger and stitch that seam. Once that is done, I like to give each seam of the pant leg a really good press. You can also do that after each seam as well if you find that a little bit easier. And then don't forget that you're going to repeat exactly the same steps for the other pant leg as well. Alright, now both of the pant legs are done, so let's go ahead and sew the crotch seam. Now this usually is the confusing part, especially if you're doing this for the first time. So let me show you 2 methods. The first one is the easiest one. Go ahead and open it like this and align your pant legs at the crotch seam right over here. Then align at the center front and pin in place, and then do the same at the center back. Now pin everything in between, and you will now get a crotch seam. Go ahead and sew this together. Now this was the first method, it's easier to understand, but the second method, it's easier to sew. Go ahead, take one of the pant legs and turn it wrong side out, just like you see me do on a screen. Next, what you want to do is you want to take the other leg, the other pant leg that is right side out, and you want to place it inside of this pant leg that you just turned wrong side out, as you see me do on your screen. As you do this, you want to make sure that you align the crotch seams. Go ahead and pin them in place. Then you will align the center front seam and center back seam as well. Once that is done, you're going to pin the whole seam from center front to center back. You want to make sure that you're placing front to front and back to back. Once you have pinned everything together, it will look like so, and that's how you're going to be sewing it all together. As I mentioned, the second option is easier to sew just because everything is aligned very well and nothing is moving or shifting. Once you have sewn the seam, go ahead and take your pants and turn them right side out. And that's it. The basic steps for sewing these really simple pants are now done. All you have to do is to add the waistband and cuffs, or maybe to hem the bottom of the pant legs. Now all of these things are actually a matter of choice and preference, and depending on the materials that you're going to be using. We will discuss different finishes for that in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Happy sewing, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye!